Hello, this is Jackie. In this video, let's watch a British prison escape film. The escapist Frank, sentenced to life imprisonment, had lived in prison for 14 years. He did daily cleaning tasks assigned by the prison. In his spare time, he participated in other prisoners' ant betting, card games, and other entertainment activities. Here, the room cards were the hard stuff of the prisoners and were managed by the guards. One day, Frank received his first family letter in 14 years. His daughter was infected with drugs and her heart stopped beating many times. This heavy news made Frank, who was eager for his wife, distraught. In order to see his daughter for the last time, Frank made a bold decision to escape from prison. But he didn't want to make it out there alone. After thorough deliberation, Frank had two most suitable candidates. The senior plumber, Brody, had a good knowledge of sewer system design. The thief Lenny was even more able to unlock the wall. Frank's idea was supported by the two, so the three set out to plan the escape. According to Frank's observation, the wooden boards of the prison church were easy to get loose and were very secretive. The best way was to enter the sewer. As for the church key, Frank had already figured out a way to get a model. They carefully calculated every obstacle. The best escape route was analyzed from the pipeline distribution route. Finally, the sewer exit adjacent to the subway station was selected to facilitate escape from the crowd. As everyone knew, all of this was seen by Tony, the addict. Tony was notorious in prison. His brother, Ritza, was the head of the prisoners here. This guy Tony relied on his backstage in prison to not be obedient. No one dared to provoke him, but Ritza would never allow his brother to get involved in drugs. If one day he discovered that someone was supplying drugs to Tony, this person would end up either dead or disabled. Since then, Tone grabbed Frank's handle, naturally took this as a threat. He let Frank trade drugs for him in secrets. In desperation, Frank had to find Viv, who made drugs. After being in prison, Viv served under the hand of Ritza. This business was also a way for them to earn money. To keep the secret, Frank let Viv participate in the escape. He got the drugs needed from Viv. But Tony was gay. Frank's roommate Lacey was his target. Lacey was humiliated many times and wanted to commit suicide, but Frank stopped him. This time Tony tried to attack Lacey again in Frank's room. Lacey couldn't bear it, he picked up the stool and smashed Tony. Tony struggled to run out of the cell. He accidentally rolled down the stairs and fell to death on the spot. Ritza learned that his brother was terribly dead. He asked Frank about the incident. Frank certainly did not testify against Lacey. He just lied that the two argued. Tony accidentally fell to death by himself. But Ritza knew that Frank was lying. He issued an ultimatum. He let Frank take Lacey to see him alone that night, otherwise Frank would die. Frank knew they couldn't wait any longer. They must act before that night. So the men began to divide their work. Brody the thief and Lenny the plumber would put the prepared tools into the sheets. Viv would use his position to facilitate and bring the recycled sheets to Frank. When everything was ready, Frank moved with compassion. He wanted to save this roommate who was about the same age as his daughter. Otherwise, Lacey would die if he left. Just before the action started, Frank made up his mind to bring Lacey along. They assembled at the door of the church. They quickly broke the plank and opened the sewer entrance. They got in one by one. But Frank's waist suddenly hurt. This did not affect their actions. Everyone was in the drain. They opened the obstruction door lock before the prison guard found them. Lenny unscrews the baffle with a tool made by him. The men followed the vent hole to the reservoir. Everyone swam through the water and worked together to open the secret door. All the way to the end. As long as they crossed the last wall, they wouldn't be obstructed. But Brody the plumber took it too quickly. He hurriedly crawled into the hole to open the way and was accidentally buried and died. The men successfully came to the outside carrying Brody's body. But there was only one abandoned subway station. Judging from the subway map, they could enter the new subway track in a short walk. Everyone was silent, quietly laying down Brody's body and embarked on the final selection road. Unexpectedly, the prison guards came in pursuit at this moment. They hurriedly ran for trial, accidentally falling into a dark river. They successfully swam along with the current to the point to the place. Viv didn't pay attention, he got stuck on the track. At this time, the subway was coming. Lenny staying to save him was also killed under the speeding train. Frank and Lacey, who survived, finally arrived at the subway station. Two people took from the plastic bag they carried clean clothes and put them on, wiping off the dirt on their faces and disguised as ordinary people. Suddenly, Frank waved Lacey to go first. Then he came to the subway exit alone and slowly walked up the steps. Seeing freedom was in front of his eyes, the light was right in front of him, Frank suddenly fell to the ground. It turned out all of this was Frank's fantasy. The day before the escape, Frank's wife came to visit. She told the news of their daughter's death. Frank lost faith to live, but he can save Lacey. Just before the escape, Frank gave his daughter's picture to Lacey, and told him to get up and go to church as soon as possible. Lacey came to the church and realized Frank's intention. The others saw the picture of Frank's daughter also knew his decision. At the same time, Frank found Ritza with the determination to die. He confessed everything, and Ritza was dissatisfied with being teased by an old man. Angrily, he pierced Frank's waist with a sharp weapon. The moment Frank fell, he fell into the fantasy of escape. This also explains why Frank got an injury. In the final fantasy, Frank met his beloved daughter. Maybe the father and daughter have met in heaven at this moment. As for the other four, they escaped successfully. Now, a story of freedom and salvation has come to an end. Well, this video ends here. Remember to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, see you next time.